Hello, this is Todd Luck, and this is a big news update on Edgar Rice Burroughs comics. So last night, Mike Wolfer, who writes the American Mythology Edgar Rice Burroughs comics, announced that on Facebook Live that he was going to be leaving American Mythology and no longer writing those comic books so he could devote himself full-time to working at Edgar Rice Burroughs Incorporated. He is going to be a design and production specialist. He's already been doing work for them. For instance, he drew this wonderful image of Jane Porter that I have on my shirt, but he is going to be going over to Edgar Rice Burroughs Incorporated, working full-time. There was a super secret project they had him working on that he couldn't mention, but one thing he did mention is the next comic that will be coming out with Jane Porter. And of course, he wrote the first Jane Porter comic that was on Kickstarter, and that will be shipping on time in November. You know, everyone's going to get all of their rewards and stuff who participated in that Kickstarter. And the next one, and it's also going to be on Kickstarter, he said. The next one is going to be called Jane Porter and the City of Fire. And it didn't sound like it was necessarily set in stone, but it sounded like it was definitely going to be a graphic novel. And it's going to be over 60 pages long, and it will be on Kickstarter. And I'm definitely looking forward to that. Looking forward to getting that print copy of the first Jane Porter issue, but definitely looking forward to seeing where they take it. For those of you unfamiliar with American Mythology's Edgar Rice Burroughs comics, Mike Wolfer has been writing almost all of them, and they are a very thorough selection of Burroughs' lesser-known works. So they began with The Land that Time Forgot, and these are Mike Wolfer covers, by the way. And they also included miniseries with Pellucidar at the Earth's Core, and Carson of Venus. And Carson of Venus even had a one-shot spinoff with Princess Douari called Princess of Venus. And they also did miniseries with The Moon Maid, and also Monster Men, which is a novel I'd never even heard about, and it is fantastic. It's Mike Wolfer writing it with Roy Allen Martinez art. It is amazing stuff. And we also have the newest Burroughs property that they're bringing into comics, Beyond the Further Star, and this is starring Victory Harbin, who is a new character in the novels, and she is on a brand new planet never explored that was named in the original novel, but we never got to see it, and so it is really cool stuff. And they even did crossovers. This is a one-shot with Carson of Venus meeting John Carter, Warlord of Mars, and this is a Mike Kaluta cover. Mike Wolfer didn't write this, but it's still pretty good. But what he did write was the amazing Zorro in the Land that Time Forgot. This is a 4-issue miniseries, and it is just a fantastic story, whether you're a fan of Zorro or a fan of Burroughs or both. It is great. So, of course, the big question is what happens to the comics now? So, he is currently writing Beyond the Further Star, Warriors of Xandar, and Pellucidar Across the Savage Seas. Both these series are excellent, and they're both on the second issue. They will continue, and he will wrap both of them up. They only have 2 issues left. They're both 4-issue miniseries, so we will get complete stories on both these miniseries, and I can't wait. They are fantastic. So the next obvious question is, what happens to the comics that haven't been solicited yet? So this is an ad for the next miniseries of Monster Men called Isle of Terror that we've been seeing in the back of the recent Edgar Rice Burroughs comics. And so I'm very glad to say that Wolfer said that he completed the script for this 3-issue miniseries, and he has sent it to Roy Allen Martinez, the artist, to draw. So this will definitely be coming out. Now, normally he does a little bit after the artist, sends back the pages and stuff, but he's not going to be available for that since he's, no longer working for American Mythology, but hopefully that won't create any problems. The good news is this 3-issue miniseries should very much come out, and most likely it will be solicited, early next year. as far as the other Edgar Rice Burroughs comics that American Mythology puts out, he didn't know what was going to happen next. Presumably, they will find another writer and they will continue them. As far as he knew, there were no changes with other Burroughs comics at other companies. Mars is still over at Dynamite. Tarzan's over at Dark Horse. And he said he wasn't going to be involved with the comic strips that are being put out online at edgarriceburroughs.com, which, by the way, is a very excellent service. I highly recommend subscribing to that. He did say he might actually be doing a novel. He did actually write a novelette in the Tarzan novel. It was a shorter story based in The Land That Time Forgot with Sita the Savage, which is a character he created in the comics. And so he might actually end up doing a novel for them at some point, which would be pretty cool. He did answer some questions about some things that I've been wondering about for a while. So he did shed some light on why the American Mythology comics that are coming out now are being labeled as official canon and the other comics being put out are not. So Mike Wolfer's goal was to make them canon. He was working very, very closely with Edgar Rice Burroughs Incorporated to try to make that happen. He was very passionate about it. And so this is kind of the payoff for those efforts. They finally got them so closely aligned with the novels that they were willing to declare them canon. And no one else has put in that work. He says it takes hundreds and thousands of hours on the phone with Christopher Paul Carey to make it happen. And so that's how that came about. And it was out of that effort that this, came about organically, the idea of tying the comics into the current novels, which we saw starting with Eye of Amtor. And so that's how this label ended up on the American Mythology stuff and not on the Dark Horse and Dynamite stuff. It's kind of like giving the best student in the class a gold star. It doesn't mean your other students are stupid. It just means that one guy put in the most work. That being said, in an ideal world, I would love that guy with the gold star to put out the comics, but it is what it is. Dark Horse does their thing and Dynamite does their thing, and I'm glad that Mike Wolfer will continue to be involved in the comics that Edgar Rice Burroughs Incorporated puts out. Before I go, I wanted to show you guys something. This is some of the comic boxes I keep my comic collection in. Here is my Edgar Rice Burroughs box, right? So open this up. Of course, I got a bunch of Tarzan at the front, but look at this. Look at this. Right here. We go from here to here. This is all American Mythology, right? And I never thought I would have comics of any of these properties, right? I never thought I'd have a single comic of any of these. But look at how many they've produced. And almost all of these are really, really good. Look at how many Land That Time Forgot comics there are. Land That Time Forgot. Look at how many Carson of Venus comics exist. Like, that is just an amazing, amazing legacy that Mike Wolfer has in American Mythology. I just wanted to show you guys that just so you could appreciate it. And so that's it. I just want to thank Mike Wolfer for all the great work he's put in American Mythology, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he does at Edgar Rice Burroughs Incorporated. And if you're interested in reviews of those Edgar Rice Burroughs comics and American Mythology, I have done reviews of every single one of them on this channel. I also do Tarzan reviews of Tarzan comics and movies and shows. And, I also do Masters of the Universe videos. There's all kinds of stuff on my channel. So like and subscribe for more videos. And until next time, see ya.